Good morning, everyone. This is BizChicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business. It's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today we are here with Coach Caren Fern, all the way from Toronto, Canada. She's in the house, and we're excited. Coach Caren always has such practical ideas for managing our money, managing our business processes. And today, she's going to tell you something special. So, without further ado, Coach, what you got for us today?
All right. Today we're talking about turning what we're talking about into a process. So we first cover habit tracking. Last week we talked about building a system. And this week we're talking about turning it into the process, right? Because everything is a process. So we build out a system, but sometimes people figure out how to build a system, but don't understand how to actually work that system, the operations in that system. And it sounds crazy, even though we're going to talk about the operations lady, but that processes that we're talking about here, sometimes people come in and they freeze up because they're worried about how is this system going to work. Even if they know in their head that they should try to see, sometimes it's still this process. So let's talk a little bit about the meaning. The meaning of process is a series of actions. You hear the word there, actions, or steps taken in order to achieve a particular ending. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It means a series of actions we have to do or steps taken in order to achieve particular endings. And sometimes we want the end so badly, but getting the action steps in place becomes this drudgery, becomes this thing that feels like a monster, like it's too heavy to carry. And really and truly, if we start seeing and in putting more joy in it, you know, it comes up differently. And this is just crazy because this morning taking my granddaughter to school and I was showing her a branch. We had a lot of heavy wind, so some branch came down, but this tiny branch sat there and it looked like somebody sat with their hands up in the air. And I was like, Atina, look, the guy sitting on the ground. And I'm telling you this because this is how kids just caught on and just go with it. As adults, we question so much instead of just doing. So I'm like, Tina, did you see the guy? And now this is when my brain is visioning. And she's like, yes, grandma. He's sitting with his feet up. And it's just a branded fall, but just how it's shaped. If you tilt your head, it looks like a person with their hands and leg halfway up. We walk a few steps and she says, the guy is on the roof now. The guy is on the roof. So we're like using our imagination. She's gone on now to use her imagination. Once the guy was on the ground, here's another branch. He's on the roof. Like we're seeing different things, right? And I ask you as adult, right? As a business owner, as somebody who might be working and want to get into the business world, use your imagination. Don't sit there with it. Don't call it stupid or silly or it's not going to work. Like use it up. Use it up. Because when you do, more come pouring out. When you get more come pouring out. So the process feels like not the way you want it to be, right? Because we're talking processes today. I want you to start getting, if you're a fun loving person, get some fun things in there. Make jokes about it. See it in a light that excites you to want to do it. You are not locked in. You're not in a classroom. You're not at a job. You're not locked in to the processes. Find your own thing to make it go for you. Now, if you're a person, just get to work and get it done. Kudos to you. But if you're finding it difficult, I want you to use your imagination and come up with things that help you along with the processes. It really makes a difference. It really makes a difference. I talk about dancing and singing and doing those things, but this is another form of you propelling yourself forward versus just staying there and can't move because you're thinking, well, which process should I start? So let's get right into it. Because we talk about system, now you have to figure out what are your processes, what are your series of processes to get something done. And there's a process. I remember making a cake, my husband's birthday, and he asked for a fruit cake. And I do it automatically because I know all the processes. But I decide to record it, and I was in shock that it takes about 13 processes to get to the cake. But because I never really paid attention because it's so automatic for me, I just do it. And that's what you have to understand, guys. The things that you're doing automatically, in case you're wondering about your processes, take something that you really love doing and write out all the process that it takes to get you there. Everything. And when you're doing that, you get to understand how it works. Now you could take that same idea and plug it into your business.
Yes, so we need to document what the steps are to getting things done.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Because the more you do, the more automatic it becomes.
All right. I like that cake analogy.
Thank you. You know,
Uh,
everybody who's building robots or any one of those AI, all those things, it's somebody behind them that took some steps that they wanted to speed up and use intelligent, interface to showcase it to people. It's the same thing. Nobody that's building anything that goes quickly didn't start with the mundane.
mhm.
They start with dirt or paper or let's go way back, the imagination, their desire to see something come to life. And when you start doing something, everybody's going to tell you how it's been done already and how this is the way to do it. But if your brain don't click, then it's not your way, your processes of doing things. And this is why a lot of kids also, I'm going to step aside here and say, suffer in the classroom because every kid learn differently. There's a patch
Uh-huh.
of kids who learn things differently. And if they're in a classroom and they're fighting against people who are winning all the time, sometimes it just bow their spirit down. So they turn adults and they never got over it. And now
Mhm.
anything that they try to do, it becomes this big, huge monster because they go back into thinking about what they can't do versus all the great things that they have done and they could do. If you ever thought of starting a business, let me just tell you, you have taken on one of the greatest things you ever did in your life. I don't care how small it is. The mere idea you said the words, I'm going to start a business, you're braver than the average bear. And then once you get into it and you sell something, you're moving. You're moving. Don't let all these things we talk about stop you. You're moving. You're probably doing half of what I'm talking about already and just haven't narrowed down and put it into systems. And you're probably all over the place because you haven't dictated where things go. That's last week. I was talking about putting on your own hat and getting yourself in the mindset and getting yourself in gear and ready for what it is you want to do. And these processes, I promise you, going to get you there. And even if it's feeling boring over time and it's feeling mundane and you're doing it over and over, you're bettering yourself. You're bettering yourself for your replacement. You're bettering yourself because you're going to know it like the back of your hand. People say it's easy to make money, and I'm not telling you it is not. It is easy to make money, but it's hard to make money when you don't know how to make money. That's what it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it feels like a mountain is happening. It feels like you can't get things done, or you've been getting them done, and now you find you're in this roadblock and you can't continue moving forward. I remember I had this friend that was a realtor, and she was in this little funky place and her husband was about to lose his job and she was just freaking out. We used to have this meetup together and I said to her, I say, you know what is it you're not doing? And she's like, I'm doing everything. I said, no, no, no. Before you get defensive, what is it you're not doing? She says, oh, I'm not calling the people on my list that I have to call. I'm like, okay, so you can start that process. She's like, yeah,
Mhm.
but I'm like, no, if you can do it, if you do have showings for the day. She says, no. I said, okay, do you have 2 hours in your day? She's like, no. So I'm like, okay, so what are you doing? And she rolled off a list of things. And I said, so out of all the things that you just told me, you can't spare 2 hours. She said, well, I could. I mean, it's not going to pay me. I'm like, it's going to not pay you today, but it's going to
Mhm.
pay later. And she said, well, I'm just going to pay somebody to do it. I'm like, but the issue we just covered is that you don't have the money to pay somebody right now. So you're going to sit for 2 hours and do it. And then
Mhm.
you write everything down. So when you do hire the person, they will not come in and feel like how you're feeling right now because you've set the process. You've set things up and you love immediate gratification. So it's hard for you to wait on the gratification. And that's why the 2 hours for 5 days, which is just 10 hours, you're
Mhm.
freaking out on.
That's interesting. I like the way you did that math. It's really only 10 hours out of the 40-hour week to
Mhm.
get things done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't think it was 3 weeks later. She said to me, you're gonna feel really good about it. So I'm like, what? She's like, I was so mad with you. I was so mad with you that I did it and I got a client.
There you go.
She's so mad at me that she did it and got a client. And I don't think it was 3 months later that client earned her $35,000. Like, what? Like, that's all you were missing? I mean, she's missing other things. So I'm not gonna go into her business, but she's missing other things. But this was like a big stepping stone. This money cleared up so many things. It got her to invest in something she wanted to invest in. And she was just running around in circles trying to figure out how she's gonna pull money out of her home to make this happen when all she needed was to do was to work for that money because it's in her field. This is what she does. This is her business. And she's trying to start a second business, but this business that was feeling like it's not moving at the time was giving her, and I got to say this, entrepreneur, we're like this. If our business is not giving us what we want to do something else. But what the feeling is telling you is you need to go back and do the thing you don't want to do, which is maybe that groundwork that is shaky. You build a good foundation, but at times there's cracks that's happening there, and you're not looking after the crack. And sometimes when you bring a structure expert, he'll say, you don't have to pull the whole house down. All you need is some injection in this section, and we'll stabilize this area. And sometimes once you stabilize this area, you get to go in and do the other stuff. But when we aren't, and usually it's because the money's not coming in as we wanted to, we feel like we're being going at it for a long time and nothing is showing up. So now if we find something new, it's going to be exciting and we're going to do it. The truth is that new thing is going to bring you back to the same point I just spoke of because you didn't finish up in this area. That boring, and businesses is really exciting when it started. And then it plateau out and you feel good about yourself. And when you go to the plateau, you get lazy, you miss steps, and you don't do as you should. Now, this is no condemnation of you. It's just that life happens. You might be tired. So many things are going on, and you're missing what's happening. That's all. This is not to get on you. This is just to tell you this is what's happening. Now, your job is to go back and see, okay, in September and October were 2 hard months. Like what was happening with me? And I wasn't able to focus on the things I did, even in the second stage of my business. Like I'm missing that. Let me go in and get that done. And that's what she had to do. She needed to go in and look at that. So once you go back and see the processes, she's like, Caren, I'm not letting this happen to me again. Like, I'm going to make sure I got enough money because I realize I don't like doing it, but it's very important. A, she need to hire somebody, but B, she need to be involved in it as well. You can't just hire it out and leave it to people, especially where she was at the time in her business. She needed to also be involved because people want to hear from her. And she didn't realize this. People want to know she's still in the business, and she didn't realize this. People want to hear from you. Even if 100 people say no, there is a few people who want to hear from you. Don't forget, okay? There's a few people who always want to hear from you. Number 2 is what steps are you taking to get you there? And that's what I was talking about. Like, what steps are you taking? Or you have a list of people that you need to call and get on the phone and talk to, or you got a list of emails that you've been collecting, but you haven't done anything with it. You don't have to rush and sell them anything, but you have to get into the process of like, what do I want to give my people on the email list? Like, I want to tell them what's going on in my life right now. Do I want to tell them about business? Did I read an article I want to talk to them about? And just find about 5 to 7 things that you want to tell them about and genuinely happy to tell them. And if that was your list, then you get on there and you space it out and you tell them about it. And in that 7 days, that 7 things, you should have an offer in there. So let them know what you're doing, what you have for sale, what action they need to take. Even if it's just to say yes about something or no about something, like something to get them going. And if they were stagnant for a while, you're going to have to warm them up. That's why I'm sending you like 7 emails. And when you call somebody, don't just get into it. I remember my realtor used to send us 4 times a year. We used to get letters from her, like posts by snail mail, 4 times a year. And then she would call me twice or so a year and just, how you doing? Tell me about her family, and ask about mine. Tell me what's going on in my neighborhood. Send me recipe about something that she tried and loved. It's simple things. And then she'll ask, do I know anybody who wants to sell a house or, who's looking to buy? And we just kept in touch throughout the year. So there's just something to say and do. And she always in my, look, she's retired and she's always in my mind. When people do, I was not a good realtor. Her nephew took over, but he's not a good realtor. He doesn't reach out to anybody.
Mm.
Doesn't reach out to the list. She did complain a few times. She says he complains he doesn't have business and he wants to be like I am because she wins so many awards. But that's because she was looking after the people. You know, if right now it's raining, it's windy, you'll get something in the mail. Kindly notice how many trees fell in your neighborhood. Here's what's going on. They're trying to revamp. We talked to the mayor. She gets into things that you wouldn't even think about and send you a newsletter on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's got a system that she's following, right? And then she does appreciation party for all her past clients, fresh clients, and I haven't gone to, well, she's retired now, but they used to be really nice functions. She go to, she hire a really nice place. Food used to be always good. The music would be pumping, and she's just personable. Really did well in her business, but that's because she followed the process she started off with, looking after the clients, making sure they're okay, and then selling to them what it is she's selling. And people, you're selling. Everybody knows if you're in business, you're selling. So don't think you're not selling. We hear marketing, 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 and all that is great, but you got to sell. You can't market and not sell because some people are really good at marketing, but they're not good at selling, which means you actually collect money for your product or services.
Mm-hmm. I like the distinction because marketing is just getting the word out about what you do.
Exactly.
But the question is, do you have what people want?
Mm-hmm. And did you ask for the sale to know if they want what you have? Did you ask them for the sale?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you ask them for the sale, or are you clunging around? Like literally, you have to make offers, even if
Okay. I don't know if Coach Caren is frozen or I'm
yeah,
frozen. You're
okay. yeah,
frozen. Huh?
yeah, I was, you
Okay, I
were, and now
wasn't
we're
sure if it
back.
was you or me.
I don't know. Maybe it's the wind and the weather and what's going on that's causing
Oh,
this.
uh-huh.
Yeah. But
Okay,
yeah,
so you
you
have to
make the
make the
offer.
offer.
You make the offer. People, I don't know much people on TikTok, but people message me and tell me what they have. I'm not annoyed with them because they're in business. They're in business. And if they have something that they want to offer me, let them go ahead. People said, don't get up in my DMs and offer me anything. And I'm like, why not? You're mad at the people, but maybe 100 people said no to them. But somebody in the crowd said, so what do you have? Or I don't want it, but I know somebody who might. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know. When I used to sell pajamas, I remember calling up every friend of mine and telling them. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you anybody bought, but let me tell you, they send me people. They
Mm-hmm.
themselves says, I don't have, my boys don't like pajamas. But I got a friend, got a girl, and girls in pajamas. And they send me people. And people I meet up and we talk about it, send me people. I remember with my mom was asking me for some things. And another friend of mine finally had a party and wanted pajamas. And I said, girl, I am so low of those sizes. She says, what? I said, I didn't realize how many I was selling because people would keep referring people to me and I would be sold out. Or people do a lot of order from, I had a little ST shop at one point and people would just order. And next thing you know, those sizing are done. That style is finished. I don't create that design anymore. And, got sold out. So go ask people. Go ask people. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. The person can say no. A friend reached out to me the other day. She have a function. I don't think it's really good for me. So it's a no. But I'm not mad that she reached out. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not what I want to do at the moment. But, and how would your company benefit and grow? How can you imagine? Could you imagine that you are sitting there doing it and they are growing? Real estate, and go back to real estate, come from a lot of referrals, but it also comes from a lot of calling. My ex-daughter-in-law worked at a real estate firm, and she says, Karen, one of she was office manager, so she didn't do a lot of the calls, but she says, I'm always amazed when the people come, the girls come in to do the calls in the afternoon. after lunch. And sometimes they will bring in so much sales, you won't believe it,
Mm.
by just tackling the list that the realtor left for them and say, this is your list for the day. And they would just call and call and call. And sometimes they close a couple and sometimes they close none. But they come in with the idea, I'm going to close, 20 houses today, 5 houses today. They've got their agenda, it's on the books, and they get to town with it. And we're not selling, but when good realtor call me, I really talk with them. I'm like, why you selling the area, and have conversation with them. The really good ones. And the ones who's just say we're calling to sell your house, I'm like, okay, no, we're not selling, hang up. But the people who is asking question and talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
because I might want to sell, but I might know somebody selling, and a smart realtor understands that. I might not be selling, but my neighbor and I might have spoken about she thinking of putting it on the market
Mm-hmm.
and looking for a realtor. And here I am saying, oh, Sue's really good. She really cares about you. And so I'm going to recommend Sue. It's just like my tax guy. Anybody talk
Yeah.
about tax? I would say, oh my God, he's so good. I've sent him over 100 and something people by now, probably even 1,000. I sent him so many people. And sometimes I forget how many people I've sent him, and he'll say to me, so and so asked for you. That's how long ago I've sent them. And usually they stay with him for years, 5, 10 years. They're with the same tax guy. I'm with this
Yeah.
tax guy now for, oh my God, 28 years we've got him.
Mm.
It's going to be, yeah, this
Yeah.
year going to be 28 years. So people stay with people and they refer people, but you first had to talk. I was at work and I was talking about the tax person I had and how um, I think he's committing fraud because I heard the whisper about him. And my friend said to me, oh, I've got a guy. And I said, where you know him from? Because after I heard this rumor, I wanted to get somebody good. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, he's really good. And I know him. And I asked him when we first had him how he come to do this, and he said the same thing. He said, "You know how I started my business, Caren?" He says, "I used to go around into the supermarkets, and I would talk to people. I'd ask them if they have a tax expert and if they're looking for one, and I would literally just hand my card out." He said I would do that 4 days a week after work because he worked he's an accountant. He worked at an accountant firm, and he said after work 3 days a week he would just get to the supermarket Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. No, sorry, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday mornings, and he would just hand out his card. He said, I walked through 500 cards, then I walked through 1,000 cards. And he says, within my first year, I had close to 100 clients and I still worked and I did taxes for that period of time. And I go to work for the rest of the year. And he says, every year I would
Mm-hmm.
just double it. And then he became partners with a friend that worked at a bank and they just keep doubling. They got messy over. I know they're past 2,000 tax clients. They're like, those guys could, quit their jobs because the farm did so well. But they did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
footwork initially. Things that people would
Mm-hmm.
say, well, why would somebody talk to you in the supermarket? Because in the supermarket, I talk to people. I ask you how you doing. I make four. We might be at the same thing, and we might be looking for something. And they're like, "You see that? That's your opportunity. Yeah, how you doing?" And you form a conversation, and you tell them what you do. You ask them what they do, and you tell them
Mm-hmm.
what you do. You don't even have to make a sale. Just tell them what you do. You have a card, you give them the card and you go on your way and you don't know what's going to happen, but good things can happen. And we talk about processes. So if your processes, so let me break it down, your company will benefit and grow because if your processes were to talk to X amount of number of people, you would have it done, right? Talk to X amount of people, give them a card. And what is it, what impression you want to left with them? And what is it you want from them? So not only giving them your card, but what you want from them. And the main thing to ask somebody is their name. When they give you their name, register it. If you're somewhere where you can walk away, have a little notebook and write it down, write their name. And you wouldn't believe it. You can ask somebody, if you're interested, do you want to give me your phone number so that I can reach out to you? Here's the only thing they can say to you: yes or no. That's it. That's all. Yes or no. And some people will say, no, so why would I want to give you my phone number? And or they might say, but I'll take your card.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if they give you the name, you'll say, Jasmine took my card, didn't give her number. So you're telling yourself what happened. When you get home, get in your Excel spreadsheet or your Google and write it down. Jasmine, you put name, date. That's a process. What happened? a little note. So notes at the top. Jasmine didn't give me her number. Card, I gave her the business card. And then at the side of that, you got something where you can put check marks. So if eventually you get Jasmine number because she called you, you'll write got Jasmine number, put a tick next to it, and the date you spoke to her, if she made an appointment. All these things are your processes we're talking about. And so for that day, or the days that you set aside, this is what you're doing. You're meeting people. Jasmine, Jack, Benny, Caren, Terry, and you write all this down. Now you got a system going. Your processes is in place, and you're starting to market yourself. When you start feeling, you pick up momentum. This is the thing I want to say. You pick up momentum. Even if it's hard in the beginning, you really pick up momentum.
Wow. Okay. Now I wrote down a couple of things. Set the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're introduced to people, get their name and number and record what happened that day.
Yes.
So you're tracking your people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So those, I think when we think processes, sometimes we think they have to be so big and so complicated. We think we don't have a process.
Right.
People convince us that we don't have a process when in fact we really do.
We really do.
It's just not complicated. And it's what everybody has to do, just on a smaller scale.
Yes. You get there and you do it. And you you look around, and if you're paying attention and you put your money, agenda in there, what money I want to reach. So let's not forget that part, right? You start see it trickling in. And you start see it building, and your money that you think you couldn't have made, it started being made. You got a couple of hundred in the bank. You got a couple of thousand in the bank. You say, where did this happen? Well, you put in the work. You hear all the time, put in the work, but sometimes people don't understand what's put in the work. Put in the work is not just feeling around, mumbling around and trying to figure it out. No, it's taking what you got and making sure that what you're doing, you figure out how to do it, processes, building systems. And then once that's in place, go sell it. Market it away, but go sell it. Because if you don't sell it, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to make any money. And distraction's going to come. I want you to park it. Just don't be involved with it. I know easier said than done, but you're going to have to do it. And if you make a mistake, this is a biggie. Like if you decide to take on a client, but it doesn't work, I want you to not feel stuck that you have to go through that. Just call the client and say, listen, this is not going to work with either of us, which means don't spend the people money. Okay. If it's a service and you know that it's to, even if you need the money badly, do not spend the money until you do it. Lawyers are not able to spend the money. It goes into a trust until certain things are happening before they can spend the money. I really want to think about it in that pathway, service-based business. Somebody come from me to coaching. I want us to be at a safe space before I touch their money, so it goes into trust. I did administrative law, so that's where that's coming from. And my background is criminology, so I did a lot of law stuff. So within there, that's where that's coming from. But it's a really good system in place, so you're not fumbling over. That's why I tell people it's not like you can't start a business without money, but when you don't have money, you get desperate and you do some desperate things. But if you got some little play area, it really frees you up to be able to do things like I'm talking about. In business. One time, one day I'm coming BizChicks talking about just setting up your business the right way so that you can have this flex money that you're able to really not feel desperate.
Exactly.
in getting you there, getting you seeing that this is a possibility, that you can run a business, pay yourself, and plan to hire people shortly after that, shortly. So that's what we talked about today. We talked about the process. We talk about processes, and processes is a series of action steps taken in order to achieve a particular ending. If you're sewing a pan, if you're getting your hair braided, if you're making these earrings, everything is a processes. And you need to know the process to get them in. The system is the bigger picture. The processes is where you're going in and do. Operations, I'm going to talk about next week, is the more nitty gritty things. Okay, you're getting in there, you're doing more nitty gritty things. And big companies have all these different areas, and it happens. Small business think we can't have all these areas. It is so important to build your small business with all these little areas that happen in a big business. Because if you intend to, get your company growing, you're going to want to have these things in place. It just makes it so much easier to keep to give to your family or to sell. People buy businesses, I don't care what it is, because it has a good system. A business might sell for 100 and something thousand, and a business might sell for 325,000 because it's systemized,
Mm. Hmm.
because it has its operation, because it has its processes. I know small business think it's you pull all together, but no, all these things have these different pockets that make your business run really well. All right, that's what I got for you today.
Okay, guys, we know now we need a system, and that system does not have to be complicated, but we do need to know the steps. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to track the steps
Mm-hmm.
and then create a system so
Mm-hmm.
that we can, what we call, rinse and repeat, right?
There you go. There you go.
Find the
Yes.
recipe that works and then
Mm-hmm.
rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat it. And you can't help but get better. Don't try for perfection. You
Oh
can't
my,
help but get better.
oh my goodness. Coach, we just thank you so much. If you're
Oh, yeah.
looking to connect with Coach Caren, you can find her at Profits in Daily. And we would love for you to follow her on Instagram. She's on Facebook. And you can gather some nuggets from Coach Caren Fern from Profits in Daily. We love you, Coach. I
Love
want to
you too.
remind everybody that it's okay to make money in your business. So go to the front of your own line. If you're
Yes.
having, if you need help or you're having challenges with your social media, creating posts, figuring out how to work your social media, give us a call here at BizChicks. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we do. You can make an appointment at bizchicks.net.
Yet.
We'd love to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of
Out
your
of the
hustle.
hustle.
In addition to that, we'd love for you to become a part of the BizChicks community by simply texting Biz to 33777 and filling out a profile and becoming a part of the BizChicks community. So, with that, I want to remind you, you can always find us at bizchicks.live. If you're looking for the broadcast, we're here Monday through Friday. Tomorrow, we'll be talking health, happy, healthy habits with Robin Shimizu and friends.
Friends.
So, thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And we just want to say, hey, we want you to be that person that excels in business.
Yes.
Come on, guys. Go to the front of your own line. Have a
Yes.
great day. Thank you again, Coach. We love you. Thank you for all you do. And for all of you who are
You're
listening
welcome.
live and on the replay, have a great day.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.